WNBA All-Star Weekend brings the fun even without Caitlin Clark. Players in the league put aside their differences at Friday night's big event, where harmony and good vibes ruled amid a tense season. Indianapolis turns out the WNBA didn't have to cancel its All-Star Weekend, not with Sabrina Ionescu reclaiming her three-point crown, and Natasha Cloud racing through a skills obstacle course before playfully trolling the home crowd. There was still discernible joy on the faces of the players as they sat courtside wearing swaggy streetwear brands and not looks of concern about revenue sharing. No one complained about the officials assigned to the festivities missing a call. And no, nobody missed listening to comedian Shane Gillis try his best to make casual racism sound remotely humorous. Furthermore, not a single fan inside. Gainbridge Fieldhouse tried to sacrifice their own right groin so that the most important woman in the building and the league could leave her floor seat and drape on her no. 22 Indiana fever. Cape Dot Friday night went on without Caitlin Clark, that pesky injury she experienced days before her home market would host the WNBA's in-season marquee event occurred at the worst possible time. The basketball gods who coldly struck down Tyrese Halliburton in Game 7 of the NBA Finals clearly have it out for Indianapolis-based stars. However, life went on. There was major disappointment that Clark required rest this weekend, yet the first night served as an entertaining appetizer. She wasn't forgotten. The arena cameras showed her plenty, but the weight of her absence eased, as did plenty other pressing issues impacting the league. It was though the WNBA called a ceasefire, and everyone agreed to drop their dukes and try to celebrate. Because it still should be okay to just enjoy the basketball every once in a while. So a night like Friday felt like a refreshing drink of water, served cold on the front lines of a labor fight that appears to be building toward an all-out war. On Thursday, the two parties, the players and the league, met for the first time since last winter to discuss a new collective bargaining agreement. Depending on which side you believe, the face-to-face was either constructive, per WNBA Commissioner Kathy Engelbert, or a wasted opportunity, according to New York Liberty star Brenna Stewart. Availability Friday morning to continue taking their fight public. They've repeated variations of the same strong sentiments. They're going to fight for their worth. By Friday night, however, players weren't aiming at Engelbert. They were embracing her. It started with the skills contest when players hustled around the course. Instead of searching for loopholes looking at you, Victor Wembanyama, Minnesota Lynx guard Courtney Williams, she of the pink cropped hair and smooth dance moves during player introductions went through the challenge bounce passes, three-point shots, mid-range shots, a corner three over a lighted spinning wheel in 42 seconds. Williams was so tired afterward that she collapsed into a sideline seat and remained in that melted position while Cloud, the first of two New York stars to sweep the night, went next and pushed her out of second place. By the end, Cloud had the for other competitors standing and applauding her winning time of 36.4 seconds. Gilbert, all smiles, congratulated and hugged Cloud's neck. Cloud then walked around the court with her new trophy and informed the Indianapolis crowd that the second half of the WNBA season will be all about the Liberty. Peace was also on display in other ways, as players surprisingly did not barricade the doors in an attempt to block WNBA officials from entering the building. Through the season, more players and coaches have felt emboldened to call out bad officiating. It's a problem the league will have to deal with by either eliminating turnover in the ranks or remixing the rules to promote more freedom of movement and less physical play. If that doesn't happen by next season, just imagine how many times Clark might have to threaten to call the league office on a ref by Friday. Clark wasn't flexing her power on an official, but rather cheering for her bestie teammate. Her right thigh is injured, but her lungs are apparently fine. Oh shit. So she stood and waved her arms up and down, imploring the crowd to root on Lexi Hull in the three-point contest. At the end, it was the 2023 champion, Ionescu, dueling with Atlanta Dream guard Alicia Gray for the $60,000 prize. When Ionescu won, her teammate, Stewart, rubbed her thumb against her fingers, giving the international sign for pay the woman. Washington Mystics guard Brittany Sykes won't get that much money, but she earned an unexpected all-star bonus. Sykes was the last woman in, tapped to replace Clark. But she arrived in Indianapolis at 4 a.m., ready for her media availability 5 hours later. She was as bright and bubbly as you'd expect someone to be who had taken a red-eye to get here. "Mon," she started, with what could be described as a deep sigh, meeting the kind of fatigue that comes after crossing 3 time zones. After, Sykes allowed her head to drop. She looked back up and smiled, then launched into a story she'd be telling for years to come, starting as soon as she gets over the jet lag. "All right, so I'm in LA since we played the Sparks last game, and my lovely girlfriend is from California. So we decided to spend All-Star break in Cali. It is 6:30 Thursday morning. I'm reaching for some water and I see my GM call me, and I'm like, why in the heck is Jamila calling me? Well, Jamila Weidman was only calling to give Sykes a heads up to expect another call. This one from Engelbert, with the news that she's an All-Star. In the moment, emotions were high. Because one, this is like the second time around. With the whole reserve situation, Sykes said, referencing how Lynx guard Kayla McBride was the first alternate chosen to replace injured Dream guard Ryan Howard days ago. And I'm human. I make the joke. I feel like the last kid on the playground. In that moment, I was frustrated, but at the same time I realized this is something I wanted. As she gathered herself, Sykes, a 9-year veteran, came to the conclusion that the selection was in fact an honor. Maybe it came wrapped in a paper bag with grease spots all over. But inside, she found a treasure, her very first All-Star selection. There's always time. Later, to complain about officiating, or fret about the new CBA, or even entertain the annoyance of being a replacement and not a first choice, or mourn the biggest bummer of an injury. Just not this weekend.